You know the drill. There is, again, a code, a Mentimeter code up for you, and your questions are going to appear here if they come. Let's see what's coming up. And I have a first question, maybe a quick round for all of you, which is the topic we put over this panel is the question, are we using AI for green energy, or are we using energy for AI? So what is your thoughts on this question? Maybe start with you, Bryan.
I brought my hamburger statistic. The energy used by a hamburger is 80,000 times more than one AI prompt. The CO2 used by a hamburger is 70,000 times more than a prompt. The water is 700,000 times more. We have a really negative image of AI, and yes, it has an impact, but we have to put it in perspective. Would you be willing to give up one hamburger every 5 years to use AI? I think that'd be a pretty good deal.
True. Yeah, no, even for health.
I love hamburgers. More hamburgers.
You're almost American.
Erin, what do you think? Are we using AI for green energy or more energy for AI?
I think you have a short-term perspective, which is that this AI revolution requires a ton of energy. Where this energy comes from is a very regional discussion, and I think you have to be pragmatic with where you source this energy. And currently there's an AI war going on, so the energy is not necessarily always green right now, and the decisions for other parts of the economy are also not hinging on green decisions currently. Yeah. So let's understand this situation. Medium and long term, I mean, when I came in, we were discussing circular economy. There's so many jobs and companies and things to be created that require AI and robotics. And in order to make this, we have to get through this hard time of using more. But the upside is new energy, different energy, better energy, and new and better a lot of other things as well.
Thank you. Nikolaos, what is your take on this question, on this statement?
It's not an easy one. I mean, what we have in our hands, I will invert a bit Bryan's narrative, is that AI is using energy. I mean, that's a challenge we have right now. I mean, so when you talk, of course, with the energy system, you know, the transmission operators, etc., I mean, they see that AI right now, it's knocking at their door, and they ask for energy connections, you know, I mean, regions, they ask for water and land. So they see this part, and for the moment they are asking, will the other part come? Mm-hmm. And when we discuss also with industry, we always say, guys, one of your problems right now is to prove as quickly as possible that the other part of the equation also is true. Because you see how the public pressure is and what is the media coverage. And I think, I'm not taking a position here, I'm just saying that it would be, of course, beneficial and would cool down also a bit the discussion if we would very quickly see these real pragmatic solutions that AI helps improve things on the other side. Yeah. And make I mean, to have them tangibly in our hands, these examples. I think this will be very important in the next short term, actually.
Okay, questions coming in like every second. So I will just read the first one. Will we get an energy carbon emissions rating per model interference, e.g. like with cars and fridges?
What about? Sorry, I lost.
Will we get an energy carbon emissions rating per model interference like it is with cars or fridges?
No. I mean, there is no plan for such a thing right now. Also because I think nobody can understand right now. I mean, we have also the usual challenge. When you go to the software or application layers, it's almost impossible to really capture something located in space and say, or, you know, located in resources, tie it out and say, okay, this is the footprint. I think here we need a different way to capture things, and I don't think anybody has a clear idea right now on how to do
how this could look. Erin, you looked like you maybe had something to say to this too.
I have a personal experience. So I had a project at Lufthansa in 2023, which was counting and trying to reduce the carbon footprint of the IT of all of the companies. So we have 450 companies-ish, a lot of cloud, a lot of Azure, a little bit of Google Cloud, a little bit of AWS. And so I went across our entire technology stack and tried to start quantifying it. And so Microsoft and Google were better, but they still were not able to say in detail where everything comes from. You're absolutely right. It's impossible. It's an impossible question. If a regulator would go after that, this is not the right moment in time, I think, for going after something like that. And don't ask questions and open cans of worms that is a little bit useless to ask right now. I think maybe at one point the answer might be very obvious, but I think there's other things to do right now.
Bryan?
Personally, I think there is a role for regulators to build in transparency. Because if you don't measure something, you can't make decisions behind it. To give you an example, DeepSeek, which is the Chinese LLM, used 1/200th the amount of energy to train its models as ChatGPT at the same point in time. Which would mean that some people, if they're environmentally concerned, might actually want to be using a Chinese LLM rather than the American version. And people don't know that, so they don't make the decision in that way.
Yeah, but this was spurred by scarcity of chips and economics. So regulating something like that where you want efficiency is maybe not the correct. There's certain things that need to be regulated, but in this case, this was not coming out of a
It wasn't coming out
green
of benevolence by any stretch of the
nothing.
imagination.
I would say nothing. Many things don't come out of benevolence, and there's still good coming out of human ingenuity, I think.
But I think the idea is if you can't measure it, if you can't see it, you can't improve it. And I do think there is a certain degree to which transparency is a good thing.
That is a huge sentence. If you can see it, if you can't measure it, then you can't improve it. That is true. So I think it's about where to stick the needle and where to say, this is the thing we compare. So Nikolaos, so we are not at this point yet. This is what I heard from you, right? So right now it's not clear.
Well, I mean, we see the glass full half. I mean, just 3 years ago, and most probably even now, nobody knew even how many data centers we have in Europe, right? I mean, even basic numbers were invisible, were unknown. I mean, what we have tried in 3 years, we have now a reporting scheme with a database, with some first reports, with a system in place. I'm giving you an example. So at infrastructure level, we are moving fast. You know, we are raising the bar by proposing a label. We are raising even more the bar by saying maybe we need to find a way, brackets, minimum performance standards, to not allow the worst technologies to be deployed, something like you have everywhere around you, like in the lamps, in all electronic devices. And that is just 3 years. I mean, that's, even for regulation timelines, this is rather fast. So in that sense, I agree with what Bryan says. We try to bring the transparency. We try to bring the numbers in a way where people can see them and can feel them. But obviously, to connect also with the previous question, some things are difficult to measure. I mean, so we try to start, I mean, instead of going 2 steps forward, 1 back, we try at least to do the 1 step forward that looks safe and solid. So we start from the infrastructure level. If we find good ways to go to the equipment, for example, or to the software or to the models, we are open to hear the good ideas and you know, go forward.
Bryan, when you talked about how inefficient AI can be used, and we know that it takes energy to use AI, so my question is, isn't it even more important then that if it's consuming energy, that we use it as efficiently as possible?
Music to my ears.
Ah, nice, and that's even without singing.
There's in fact new European legislation about training for AI, effective systems for AI. I think there would be a much bigger impact teaching people how to use the tools in technology than there would be in regulating the technology. So that in fact it's used on important projects delivering real results. So as Erin was saying, one person working part-time can set up a new business. That's the energy of growth, and that's the power of the technology.
Because in your examples, you know, we talked about I think it was your mother, right? And we're supposed to write a story about our moms or our grandma, and I'm looking for the equivalent in business. So in your experience, how do businesses use AI not efficiently enough?
So I'm going to answer this part way. I think most of the way people use an AI is to write an email or summarize this. That's pretty low-hanging fruit, and it doesn't impact very much. I think the challenge that comes up is to use the technology for important things and to use it correctly. Because when you use it for the right things and you use it right, you get the right results.
Erin, what's your experience or what's your take on that when you look at your business?
Here's a high-hanging fruit. I have heard that the aircraft at Lufthansa, which is my day job, have 1 terabit of data coming off of every flight. How much data is that? I don't know. It's a lot. And this data is kind of, if you think about all of the whistles and vibrations and clicks that are being recorded from the 20,000 sensors on the aircraft. And if we would be able to read those, and if somebody would go and do that project, and the reason I know about it is because we talk about it, but nobody's done it yet because we don't know where all of the data actually is, and do we have it, or is it Airbus or Boeing that has some of it? But anyway, if we would throw AI at that problem, you could then analyze repairs before they are detected by humans. You could analyze inefficiencies. You could potentially save fuel. Saving fuel in aviation is 33% of the cost and is almost 100% of the CO2 impact. So burning less fuel is the first question that you had. Is AI saving CO2 or... I think that this is a very short-term question. I think AI will get rid of the CO2 topic completely, given enough time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you said. Underestimated, but overestimated for short term, but underestimated for long term. Yeah, here we are.
Could I add something to what Erin
Please.
was saying? AI is essentially a pattern recognition tool. It's predicting the next stuff coming up. Human beings are not particularly good at analyzing systems. An airline is a system. An airplane is a system. AI has an amazing ability to improve system efficiency. And that's where I see the real opportunity. It's not writing emails or summarizing a chapter that somebody sent you.
But it writes such nice emails as well, doesn't it?
It does. It can keep doing that, but it can do other things. So one last question, maybe to all three of you, and then the time is over. We had someone yesterday here who said in his talk, you know what, forget regulations. Forget it. That's not what we need. We need the why in the companies and in the persons, and this has to be, for example, can we earn money by doing that? So we don't need regulations for that. So what is your take on that? Is it more about the why of the company, of the people, or will it still need the regulations, or which one drives faster or is more important? Maybe stop at this time, start with Nikolaos. You have to say regulations are important.
I have to talk about regulation again. Well, I don't think that regulation can be ahead of the carriage here, right? I mean, actually, no matter how people complain, I think regulation always follows here. I mean, it's so slow compared to technology.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what to reply to you. I think this is a question, strangely enough, I think people believe this is only a question for me, but I think it's a question for all of us.
Yes.
For each one of us. And I'm saying that because just consider when at the same time you hear the opinion that, for example, legislation for AI should be completely liberal, and at the same time, the same people complaining who will protect us from AI. I don't say it's regulation that will protect us, or that will save us, or that won't save us. But I mean, there is obviously a moment where we are looking at something big. We don't know how to exactly do that. So I think that it's not easy either to say who is the savior or who is the boogeyman here. And that goes also for regulation. In some ways, I think we need some kind of regulation. Maybe we need some, I don't know, experimentation also with regulation. Maybe someone will say, let's put AI to write the regulation for AI. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
Erin.
So let me forego my own opinion here and tell you about a couple of things that I heard. So there is a guy called Balaji Srinavan. He was the ex-CTO of Coinbase. Brilliant guy, I like to listen to him a lot, and he said at one point there was a book that every child in the US had to read. Maybe you might have had to read it about chemistry, like A Boy's Guide to Chemistry or something like that. And in this book there used to be a flavor and a scent of every single kind of element in the chemical periodic table, but then it stopped at a certain point because there was a moment in time when people were tasting and smelling things, like at one point they tasted and smelled something toxic and died, right? And so, but this was the area of experimentation, and had there been regulation, we wouldn't have the full periodic table. It would never have been developed. And this was the moment in time where aspirin was discovered and so many other things, penicillin. And so we're in a moment now in time where it's a little bit F around and find out. The regulation has not caught up with all of this experimentation, but it's a very interesting time to be alive. And I think that the discoveries that we're going to trip over are going to be worthwhile, and obviously if we see that things are going completely off the rails, we need to react. Speaking of trip over, I have to work very hard and very fast, and I trip over things all the time as an entrepreneur, so I think you were wondering and didn't want to mention anything, but yeah, I tripped while I was chasing a bus to get to this event,
to see that.
and that's why I look a little bit damaged today, but...
You put it all in your work.
I put everything into getting here today.
Okay, one last thought to that, Bryan.
So I'd like to leave you with a soundbite. There's an old film, and then in that film they say greed is good. Greed is good. Greed is what guides companies to do new and amazing things. But greed without guardrails is really dangerous. We need regulation. Otherwise, we go into areas where greed takes over everything.
Wow, that is a great last sentence to end this session. Thank you very much.